Tonight, federal agents have seized 6 oil tankers and $500 million in the largest energy corruption case in American history.
At 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation stood before a classified briefing room in Washington, D.C., and made a statement that would rewrite everything we thought we knew about energy corruption, international cartels, and the price of American silence. Operation Golden Serpent has successfully dismantled the largest oil laundering network ever discovered on Western Hemisphere soil. 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, $500 million in redirected cash flow, 6 tanker vessels seized across 3 continents. And at the center of it all, a man who turned Venezuela's state oil company into the private vault of the Caracas syndicate, the most sophisticated energy cartel ever to infiltrate American ports, refineries, and federal agencies. His name, General Rodrigo Valmonte, former military strategist, current shadow director of Venezuela's National Petroleum Authority, and architect of what investigators are now calling the Golden Oil Vault, a system so elaborate it made entire nations complicit without ever knowing they were feeding the beast. This is not about one corrupt official. This is about a cartel that weaponized energy itself. And if you think you know how deep corruption can go, I promise you, the next part is worse. 4:32 a.m., Caracas, Venezuela. The city sleeps under a blanket of smog and broken streetlights. Fog rolls through the industrial port district where oil tankers sit like silent giants against the dark water. The air smells like diesel and salt and something rotten underneath. 53 FBI agents, 42 DEA operatives, 18 ICE specialists, 12 Venezuelan federal police officers who passed every loyalty test 3 times. They move in synchronized silence across the docks, dressed in black tactical gear, faces covered, weapons drawn. The target, Warehouse Complex 7, a sprawling maze of storage units, office towers, and underground fuel depots owned on paper by a logistics firm called Meridian Energy Solutions. In reality, it is the operational heart of the Caracas syndicate's oil smuggling empire. At exactly 4:34 a.m., the first flashbang detonates. The sound rips through the silence like a thunderclap. Agents pour through shattered doors and reinforced gates. SWAT teams breach 3 separate entry points simultaneously. Inside, cartel operatives scramble. Some reach for weapons, others grab laptops and external hard drives. 2 men try to sprint toward a hidden exit near the fuel tanks, duffel bags stuffed with American $100 bills bouncing against their backs. They do not make it 10 feet. Within 12 minutes, the entire complex is secured. What the agents find inside changes everything. $37 million in cash, stacked in climate-controlled vaults. Encrypted servers running financial algorithms that track oil shipments across 14 countries. Falsified shipping manifests for crude oil tankers that list destinations in India, China, and Malaysia. But the oil never arrives there. It is rerouted mid-ocean to American refineries in Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, sold under fake certificates of origin, and the profits funneled back through shell companies in Panama, the Cayman Islands, and Delaware. But that is not the worst part. In a sealed steel container buried beneath the warehouse floor, agents discover something that makes even the most experienced investigator go silent. A master ledger, handwritten, detailed, containing the names of 12 American port officials, 9 refinery managers, 6 federal customs agents, and 4 congressmen who received monthly payments ranging from $50,000 to $200,000 each. And at the top of every page, stamped in red ink, authorization code VG77, the personal signature of General Rodrigo Valmonte. This is not oil smuggling. This is state-sponsored infiltration, and the operation has just begun. 9:15 a.m. FBI Cyber Forensics Division, Quantico, Virginia. Analysts in a secure lab cracked the encryption on the seized servers. What appears on their screens is a digital map, so intricate, it looks like a living organism. Operation Golden Serpent. That is what Valmonte called it. A network of 43 shell companies, 19 ghost corporations, 31 offshore bank accounts, fake energy consulting, sham environmental charities that claim to fund clean fuel research, but actually laundered cartel money. Restaurant chains in Miami that existed only on paper. Logistics companies in Houston that moved nothing but falsified shipping documents. The money flows like blood through veins. Venezuelan crude oil is extracted by state-owned facilities, then sold at a discount to cartel-controlled brokers. Those brokers reroute the tankers mid-voyage using falsified GPS data and altered shipping law. The oil arrives at American refineries under fake certificates claiming it came from Canada, Mexico, or Colombia. Refinery managers, paid off by Valmonte's network, accept the shipments without question. The refined gasoline is sold to American consumers at market price. The profits are split. Half goes back to the Caracas syndicate. The other half is distributed through encrypted cryptocurrency wallets to corrupt officials, cartel operatives, and political enablers across the Americas. But the scale is what makes investigators sick. 50 million barrels over 3 years. That is enough oil to fuel the entire city of Los Angeles for 6 months. The revenue generated, over $500 million in redirected cash flow that never appeared on any official ledger, never triggered any federal audit, and never raised a single red flag because the system was designed by someone who understood exactly how American energy infrastructure worked. General Rodrigo Valmonte did not just exploit the system. He rewrote it. He turned the global oil market into his personal money laundering machine. And he did it with the help of officials who swore an oath to protect American interests. Lead analyst Maria Cordero stares at the screen and says what everyone in the room is thinking. This is not corruption. This is command-level collusion. He built a second energy grid, invisible, untraceable, and completely under cartel control. And if you think that is the end of the story, you are wrong. The next phase is worse. Because Valmonte did not just steal oil, he weaponized it. 5:47 a.m. Joint Operations Command Center, Houston, Texas. A massive digital map covers the entire wall. Red markers pulse across the Gulf Coast, the Caribbean, and the eastern seaboard. Each marker represents a cartel-controlled asset. Oil tankers, refinery contacts, port officials, shell company headquarters, corrupt customs agents, encrypted server farms. The mission briefing is short and brutal. Over 1,000 federal agents, 73 SWAT teams, 42 ICE tactical units, 18 DEA strike groups, 12 U.S. Coast Guard cutters positioned in international waters, 2 U.S. Navy destroyers monitoring tanker movements near Venezuelan territorial water, F-15 fighter jets on standby at Homestead Air Reserve Base in Florida, ready to intercept any vessel attempting to flee. The targets: simultaneous raids across 8 states and 3 countries. At exactly 6 a.m., the operation launches. In Port of Houston, Texas, federal agents storm a refinery management office and seize 4 executives who approved illegal shipments. They find internal emails showing that oil deliveries were scheduled around federal inspection rotations. The refinery accepted crude oil shipments with certificates of origin that listed Canada as the source, but shipping logs showed the tankers came from Venezuelan waters. The managers knew. They were paid $200,000 per shipment to look the other way. In Miami, Florida, ICE agents raid a luxury condo tower in Brickell and arrest the CFO of a fake energy consulting firm called Apex Global Resources. Inside his penthouse, they find $12 million in cash, gold bars, and encrypted hard drives containing payment records for every corrupt official in Valmonte's network. The man tries to delete files as agents break through the door. He does not succeed. In New Orleans, Louisiana, DEA operatives hit a shipping logistics company that falsified tanker manifests for 3 years. They seize the company's entire server farm and arrest 9 employees, including the operations director who personally altered GPS coordinates for oil tankers to hide their true routes. The evidence is overwhelming. Every shipment, every falsified document, every rerouted tanker, all of it traced back to orders from General Rodrigo Valmonte. In Maracaibo, Venezuela, a joint task force of FBI agents and vetted Venezuelan federal police raid a cartel-controlled fuel depot near Lake Maracaibo. They find underground storage tanks holding 17 million gallons of crude oil waiting to be smuggled. Cartel operatives open fire. The firefight lasts 11 minutes. 3 cartel members are killed. 7 are captured. No agents are injured. Inside the depot, investigators discover detailed maps showing smuggling routes through the Caribbean, coded communication logs with American refinery managers, and a steel briefcase containing $5 million in U.S. currency and Venezuelan bolivar. In the Atlantic Ocean, 200 nautical miles east of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Coast Guard intercepts the 6th tanker vessel linked to Operation Golden Serpent. The ship, registered under a Liberian flag and operated by a shell company in Panama, and is carrying 4 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil with falsified documents claiming the cargo originated in Colombia. The crew attempts to destroy evidence by throwing laptops and hard drives overboard. Coast Guard divers recover them. The captain is arrested, the tanker is seized, the oil is redirected to U.S. government custody. By noon, the results are staggering. 37 arrests across 3 countries, 6 oil tankers seized, 43 shell companies dismantled, 19 offshore accounts frozen, over $500 million in assets confiscated. And the most shocking discovery, internal communications showing that General Rodrigo Valmonte planned to expand the operation into natural gas smuggling, using the same network to move liquefied natural gas from Venezuela to Europe under fake Russian certificates of origin. One FBI supervisor in Houston looks at the seized evidence and says what no one wants to believe. The underworld took more damage in 6 hours than in the last 6 years. But this was not just a cartel. This was a parallel energy economy, and it was operating in plain sight. 3:22 p.m. FBI Evidence Analysis Unit, Washington, D.C. Investigators combed through seized servers, encrypted emails, financial transaction logs, and internal communications from corrupt officials. What they find is a betrayal so deep, it shakes the foundation of federal trust. 12 American port officials were on Valmonte's payroll. They received monthly payments ranging from $50,000 to $150,000. Their job? Ensure that oil tankers with falsified documents were waved through customs without inspection. They coordinated schedules so that shipments arrived during shift changes or federal holidays when oversight was minimal. 9 refinery managers accepted bribes totaling over $18 million combined. They approved oil deliveries that violated federal import regulations. They altered internal records to hide the true origin of crude oil shipments. They signed off on certificates they knew were fake, and when federal audits were scheduled, they received advance warnings from cartel contacts inside customs enforcement. 6 federal customs agents sold their access. They leaked inspection schedules to cartel operatives. They falsified shipping manifests in federal databases. They approved tanker entries that should have been flagged for review. One agent in Corpus Christi, Texas, received $400,000 over 2 years. His job was simple: make sure certain tankers never appeared on the federal watch list. And 4 congressmen, whose names are now sealed in classified federal indictments, accepted campaign contributions and personal payments funneled through Valmonte's network of shell company and fake charities. They used their influence to block stricter oil import regulations. They delayed federal investigations into suspicious tanker activity. They ensured that oversight committees never looked too closely at Venezuelan oil entering American refineries. One honest Coast Guard officer in Florida breaks down during his interview. He says he reported suspicious tanker activity 7 times over 2 years. Every report was ignored. Every warning was dismissed. He thought it was bureaucratic incompetence. Now he knows it was something worse. His own colleagues were working for the cartel. A DEA supervisor in Houston says it plainly. What we are looking at is not corruption. It is a second enforcement system. Valmonte did not just bribe officials. He built a parallel structure inside our agencies, our ports, our refineries. He created a shadow government that existed to serve one purpose: move oil, move money, and never get caught. And the system worked. For 3 years, 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil flowed into American refineries without triggering a single federal investigation. The profits funded cartel operations across Latin America. The corrupt officials lived in luxury, and the American people paid for it every time they filled their gas tanks, never knowing they were funding a criminal empire. The badge will be rebuilt. The system will be purged. The damage is already done. 7:30 p.m., Strategic Intelligence Center, Langley, Virginia. Analysts zoom out from the Gulf Coast to a continental map. Red lines trace smuggling routes from Venezuela to the United States, then branch out across North America and into Europe. This was never just about oil. It was about control. General Rodrigo Valmonte designed Operation Golden Serpent to do what no cartel had ever done before: weaponize energy infrastructure. He understood that oil is not just a commodity. It is leverage. It is power. It is the lifeblood of modern civilization. And if you control the flow of oil, you control governments, economies, and entire populations. The network moved an average of 1.4 million barrels per month without triggering federal alerts. Shipping manifests were altered in real time using cartel-controlled software that hacked into international maritime tracking system. Weigh stations at refineries were bypassed using falsified inspection records. Tanker crews were paid to disable GPS transponders during critical parts of their voyage, making the ships invisible to satellite tracking for hours at a time. But the most chilling part is what investigators found in Valmonte's personal files, a document titled Phase 2. It outlined a plan to expand the operation into natural gas, lithium smuggling for battery production, and rare earth mineral. Valmonte was not building a cartel. He was building a shadow state, a parallel economy that could operate independently of any government. funded by stolen resources and protected by corrupt officials in every major country. One section of the document is particularly disturbing. It describes how Valmonte planned to use energy dependence as a weapon. By controlling oil and gas flows into the United States and Europe, he could create artificial shortages, manipulate prices, and force governments to negotiate with the cartel as if it were a legitimate state actor. He was not just stealing oil. He was positioning the Caracas syndicate to become a global power broker. A senior intelligence analyst reads the file and says what everyone is thinking. This was not infiltration. This was colonization. He was turning the energy market into cartel territory, and we were too blind to see it. The system was redesigned for a cartel future, not just infiltrated, redesigned. Power does not always need open violence. Sometimes it only needs silence and ambition. General Rodrigo Valmonte understood that. He knew that the loudest crimes are the easiest to stop. So he built an empire in whispered, in falsified documents, in encrypted transactions, in the quiet complicity of officials who chose money over duty. And for 3 years, it worked. 50 million barrels of oil, $500 million in redirected cash flow, 6 tanker vessels seized, 37 arrests, 43 shell companies dismantled. The real cost is not measured in barrels or dollars. It is measured in trust, in the erosion of institutions, in the realization that the systems we depend on can be corrupted from within by those who understand them best. This story is a warning. It is a reminder that organized crime does not always wear a mask or carry a gun. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it sits in an office. Sometimes it signs documents and shakes hands and smiles for cameras while quietly dismantling everything we built. If you are still watching, tap like so more people see this story. Comment expose if you want corruption like this dragged into the light. Share this with someone who needs to understand how deep infiltration can go when ambition meets opportunity and no one is watching. This story is fictional, a dramatization meant to illustrate the real dangers of energy corruption and cartel infiltration. But the warning is real, the threat is real, and the cost of silence is always paid by those who can least afford it. Operation Golden Serpent is over. The network is dismantled. The officials are arrested. The oil is seized. But somewhere, in another city, in another industry, in another country, someone is building the next system, the next shadow economy, the next invisible empire. And the only question that matters is this: will we see it before it is too late?